Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Boom, you can see your boy is here. We actually are packet punching the camera. We have ordered something pretty nice, so we should be in high HD, possibly in 4K. And yeah, man, this thing started as a hobby, but as we grow more and more, it's time to get really serious because we are here to help the nation, the Turbo Nation, the Crypto Nation to succeed in this altcoin season. Listen, Turbo, you know me, I love my boy Turbo. Nothing really new in terms of, news or anything, but you can see we actually are averaging once again higher views on posts. There's a time where we actually were around 3,500, but as crypto starts to evolve again, as crypto starts to pick up, as Turbo starts to gain momentum, you will see these numbers jump up very, very quickly. These views are going to be back into the mid thousands or mid tens of thousands. And the next thing you know, we're going to jump to 115, 120K followers, and we're going to start expanding very, very quickly. Let's dive into the basics. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ranked 157 in the world. You can see that we've gone up roughly 17% in the last 7 days. We're at 350 million market cap, 40 million volume, right? This type of volume we're getting right now has been on the weekend. So I expect huge, massive volume over the next week, 2, and even 3 weeks, just in general, right? We talked about how low volume, when you start getting a transition from low volume to higher volume, it starts to expand. And we're going to look on the chart in just a second. We can see, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes down to the holders, we're almost at 57,000 holders. So pretty good, right? We are just 50 away. We probably hit this in a day or two maximum, even if we were to tank hypothetically. And I expect very, very good things with Turbo sooner than later. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the official chart, right? This is the official chart. And we pretty much are looking very, very good. In terms of let's go 3 month perspective. In terms of a 3 month perspective, we are looking fairly solid. In fact, ladies and gentlemen, we are kind of looking the way we looked back here in October 2023 and January 2024, right? Those 3 month candles, they looked a little bit weaker, but that's because when we zoom in on the context of these 3 month candles, we can see that we're actually going sideways a lot because we're preparing for a massive expansion over the next few short months. So, most likely, right, in terms of a higher scale, we will end a candle like, this August candle and this 3 month candle overall, probably something like this, where, we do probably go up, but nothing too crazy. And I would not be surprised if once again, starting October all the way till December, we see massive pumps and even possibly, right, going into January. Now, I predicted a few months ago that I do believe late summer to maximum late, what's it called, fall will be the ultimate pump. And as of right now, we are on track. Not really for the late summer, but for the late fall or even before late fall, we are on track because, ladies and gentlemen, something like Bitcoin dominance is really, really struggling to stay, right? It is struggling. It is going up and down, right? We are still going to see and check for more, verification, right? I know some people were calling premature altcoin season, right? They did this too for when the November drop happened. And back in November, we were talking about, hey guys, listen, there is a huge, massive zone practically right over here. Don't get too excited. And you can see, obviously, it never happened. So we will be monitoring this because this is important, right? This starts dropping, Turbo will start rising consistently. If we start dropping, this type of way, then Turbo is going to see those, crazy gains that we all have been waiting for. I will say this right now, ladies and gentlemen, right? When this does happen, right? This big move for Bitcoin dominance and Turbo has those insane pumps, that will be practically your final chance to cash out really, really high. Because after that, we're not going to be getting the same type of cycle where there's going to be, some type of recovery, blah, blah, blah. No, we're going to go from heaven all the way to hell in terms of crypto. We're going to go from the highest of highs to sell off, sell off, sell off, sell off over the next couple of months. So we got to be prepared. We have to have the psychology already ready. Anyways, right? That's with Bitcoin dominance. We'll jump into Bitcoin just for a second, and then we'll dive into Turbo itself. Because listen, this is all correlated. This is all important. We can see the last few days, Bitcoin has absolutely just shot up, right? Bitcoin has absolutely shot up. In the start of August, we were practically at 12 and a half thousand, right? 112,000 pretty much for Bitcoin. And we can see by the 10th, we are already back to almost 120K. So what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? Well, that means Bitcoin is, preparing to go up higher and higher. I will see how Bitcoin reacts off this 122K zone because this is a very important candle. But if things do look well, then we could possibly see Bitcoin expanding, Bitcoin dominance continuing to kind of just chill, and things like Turbo looking generally to go up fundamentally. We can actually see that the weekly candle officially has changed, and we can see we did close over here. So of course, not yet. We haven't created a higher high because this is the last relevant weekly high that's been green, right? And then now we created this one. So this is technically lower, but I really do believe in the context of Turbo that we are in a very similar scenario to what happened down here. Okay, and we explained it, but we'll explain it again. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we can see when we go to the lows of Turbo, we pretty much had a weekly candle, two sells, a decent recovery for a weekly. Then it was kind of nothing, and then the next week it shot up. And now we have the same thing, right? Boom, kind of the whatever weekly candle. We have two sells, a pretty decent recovery. And if this week is going to be slow, just know the reason why it's slow is because it's preparing for a massive pump. Ultimately, I am still super excited about this project. I am still optimistic about this project. Now, I haven't heard anything about Robinhood in a while. If you guys have heard anything with Turbo and Robinhood, let me know because there is always a chance that I did miss it, but I feel like I would have seen or heard stuff talked about it. We can see generally these are our main zones, right? These are our main zones. When we just zoom out on the bigger picture and stop worrying about the micro moves, these are practically our next big zones. And ultimately what Turbo is preparing for is to blast through the zone, to then retest, to then continue to go up higher, to contest these all-time highs. Ladies and gentlemen, without a shadow of a doubt, if if we do get to these all-time highs and Bitcoin dominance has not dropped through the roof just yet, and by through the roof I don't mean like 5, 10, or 11% or 12%. I mean like 30%, 40%, right? Then if we do get to around this area, anywhere from, let's just say, 1.3 cents to 1.8 cents, those price targets of 10 cents, 12 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents, 25 cents, even maybe 30 cents that you dreamed about with Turbo are going to be realistic. Okay. You have to remember for something like 1 cent, right? 1 cent is literally double the market cap right now. So that is around what, 350? That's around 700 million market cap. So 700 million market cap for 1 cent, 10 cents is 7 billion. 7 billion is really possible. 14 billion is like, okay, now we're getting there. But that would be 20 cents. And then going from 14 to 21, which I feel like would probably be the most realistic peak of peaks, would be 30 cents. Which is why I predicted, I think I predicted around 18 cents because I played it the more conservative way, which obviously I'd rather play more conservative, readapt in the future than to overshoot it. And you know what? Then be like, oh no, well, I thought I was going to get 5 times more. There's no point in that. We could always readjust our game plan. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is ultimately it. I hope you guys did enjoy. Everything is going to be pack a punch in terms of the setup. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.